everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love, something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love, something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 Something about your love, something about your love changes everything.
Good morning, Rooted Men. Pastor Tom, Firmly Rooted Ministries. Happy Thursday morning. Good to have all of you on board. We are successfully out there in the social media world, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Rumble. Good to have you. Let's see who's on board. I'm on board. There's Kevin Johnson. Good morning, Kevin. Chuck B., good morning. Firmly Rooted Men, blessings to you all. Chris Connolly, good morning. Bert Reggiani, good morning. Well, you aren't the only guys out there because I can see more people signed in. So that's really good. Yeah. All right. We are in Proverbs chapter 27, and I'm doing 11 to 16. Be wise, my son, and bring joy to my heart. Then I can answer anyone who treats me with contempt. It's this parental thing, right? Somebody comes and says, your kid, your kid, your kid. The writer of the Proverbs here is saying to the son, be wise. Well, the whole book of Proverbs is telling us to be wise. Biblically, wisdom is not intellect. Wisdom is the ability to understand the distinction between the two kingdoms, my two natures, and how they're interacting in the world and in my life at any given moment. It isn't easy. It's a spiritual gift. And hence, he says, pursue it with everything you have. Buy it. Give up everything and find wisdom, discernment. Why? Because if we can wisely discern our two natures and wisely discern the two kingdoms and wisely see them operating and moving at any given time, it's like the Matrix. It's like being able to see the truth and the lie simultaneously and then make choices towards truth and push away the lies. Imagine what that would do to the success of our lives, the abundance of our lives, the abundance of our relationships. But he's saying to a son, bring joy to my heart by seeking wisdom. And when somebody from the outside comes to treat me with contempt, say something maybe even about you, I'll know it's not true. The prudent, they see danger and take refuge. Prudent, the wise, the discerning. They see the danger. See, the problem is most of us get up and don't see the danger. And hence we keep falling into the pits. We keep running into the same problems. The prudent see the danger and change course. But the simple, those who lack wisdom and discernment, they'll just keep going right into the folly and they're going to end up paying the penalty. They're going to fall right into the pit, saying to themselves, I'm not going to fall into a pit, and then fall into the pit. Why? They lack wisdom and discernment. They lack the self-control of slowing everything down and saying, no, that's wrong, that's right, I'm stepping into right. Take the garment of one who puts up security for a stranger. This idea of loaning and giving. Take the garment and hold it in pledge if it is done for an outsider. The idea is this loaning business is a really bad thing. People are quick to say, hey man, if you'll just give me, I promise I'll pay you back. If you'll just, right? But man, that paying back is always harder than the getting. Ever been there? It's so easy to put your hand out and say, give me. It's really hard to give back. Why? Well, because we've already spent it, and maybe even more. Verse 14, if anyone loudly blesses their neighbor early in the morning, it will be taken as a curse. This idea of things we've heard most recently over the last week or two in Proverbs, that the person who is overly blessing and overly positive, most likely behind your back, is tearing you to pieces. It's all going to come around. You're going to end up seeing the curse. All right. And a couple verses that if you're married, don't use them, but understand what they say. A quarrelsome wife is like the dripping of a leaky roof in a rainstorm. Restraining her is like restraining the wind or grasping oil with your hands. It slips right through. Quarrelsome. That's the whole point. See, we make the point woman. The point isn't woman. The point is quarrelsome. If we're loving God with our whole heart, whole mind, whole soul, and all of our strength, and loving our neighbor as ourselves, there should be no quarreling. There should be mutual submission, mutual surrender. It should be we. What do we need to understand? What am I seeing that you're not seeing? Help me to see, right? There should be a collaboration, not a quarreling. A quarreling happens when I, you, rather than we takes place. If I, you is common in your language with people closest to you, I always, you never, if you, then I will, I, you. We are the family of God. We're a we, and Jesus is the head. He's the decision maker. And that's what we bring into our family relationships. Whether it's husband and wife, or brothers and sisters, or whether it's father and mother and children. It doesn't matter. We can even go to our closest friends. Nobody starts a friendship so we can quarrel. But boy, when that quarreling starts, and boy, I don't know a family that doesn't have quarreling in it. When that quarreling starts, it eats at the fabric of the very relationships that God created. And it's like rain coming through a roof. That shouldn't be happening because the roof's there to protect. And you just can't stop the rain from coming in. It is like trying to grasp the wind, trying to hold on to something when your hands are full of oil. Everything just slips through. How about we men today do a gut check? We started the week, and I hope you're still doing it, a gut check on your words. Start exercising some self-control and be slow to speak. Think before you speak. Think before you act. Which me? Which kingdom? Stop quarreling. If that whole cycle begins, be the one who stops it and says no more. We're going to end this conversation until we can start it again without fighting, without quarreling. In the midst of that quarreling, the devil's right there. We got to get him out. We got to get him out of the discussion. And the only way to do that is to get love and truth back into the discussion. Who's right doesn't matter. What matters is, are we willing to surrender our opinion to the right of the kingdom of God? How we should act and how we should decide and what we should decide according to the will of God. All right, I'll leave it at that. Matt Ryan has some good stuff for tomorrow, iron sharpening iron and all that kind of stuff. Awesome. I saw, let's see, Bert Reggiani's on board. John Shadowski, good to have you, brother. Yeah, and we got a bunch of others on board too. Great to have all of you. Guys, I hope this devotion was a blessing to you. Don't forget, we got a couple more days this week. Self-control over your words. Slow everything down. Even if you have to count to 3 before you say something, make sure that it's God honoring, that it's truth honoring and love honoring, or don't say it. Die to your old and rise to your new, and see if you don't begin to live a more abundant life. All right, blessings on your day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.